If you want to learn how to make quality multipurpose liquid soap for commercial purpose, this video is for you. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make quality multipurpose liquid soap, and this is a very good business idea with high profit. So if you're interested, all you have to do is to watch this video to the end, because I'll be giving you all the details you need to know about how to make quality multipurpose liquid soap. Now, without wasting much of your time, let's get down to business. Hello friend, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. In this video today, we'll be making 30 liters of quality multipurpose liquid soap, and here are all the requirements. If you've been following this channel, you know this already. We start by measuring out the soakable ingredients, and the first ingredient I have here is caustic soda, also known as sodium hydroxide. Now, I'll be using 100 grams of caustic soda dissolved with 1000 ml of water, which is equal to 1 liter of water. So pour the water into a mixing bowl, and after that go on and pour the caustic soda. Now always remember to pour your caustic soda into the water. Do not pour water into your caustic soda, and that is how to prepare your lye solution. Now, this lye solution is one of the key ingredients to your multipurpose liquid soap, so always make sure to add this lye solution in your multipurpose liquid soap. Now, when you pour the caustic soda into water, there will be a chemical reaction that will force the water to heat up. So please be careful. Make sure you're wearing a hand glove. Do not be like me. Caustic soda is very corrosive. You wouldn't want that on your skin. So please take note. So you can see it's hot. Now, this is one thing I like doing when preparing lye solution. I like to make sure I stir it until I have a clear solution. Until the lye solution is clear, then I can leave it to cool completely before using it for production. So you can see after you add the caustic soda and stir, you notice that the solution will be cloudy. Just make sure and stir it until you have a clear solution as what you're seeing in the video. Then you can set it aside and allow it to cool completely before using it for your production. So please take note. Now moving on, the next ingredient we are going to soak here is SLS, also known as SLS rice. And the full meaning of SLS is sodium lauryl sulfate, and is a surfactant and also a foaming agent. So we're going to be using 350 grams of SLS. Now all you have to do is to go on and measure 350 grams of SLS, and after that you can move on to the next process. Now if you don't have scale, when getting your chemical, please tell them to measure it for you with their scale using the same measurements that will be listing out here. So please take note of these ingredients so as to use it when going to get your chemical. So that's it. Now the next thing you need is water. We're going to be using 5000 ml of water to dissolve the SLS, and 5000 ml is equal to 5 liters of water. Please, it's important to have this measuring cup. If you don't have scale, please try and get measuring cups. It's very important. Get your measuring cup. Now this is the easiest and proper way to dissolve your SLS, especially if you want to make use of this within the space of 5 hours. The best way to dissolve your SLS, number one, is to make sure you're using enough water to dissolve it. For example, for 350 grams of SLS, you're expected to use 3 liters of water to 5 liters of water, which I'll be making do with 5 liters of water here. So use enough water. And another thing is, when you pour your SLS into water, do not leave it to dissolve on its own. Make sure you stir it until everything is properly dissolved, which would take about 3 to 5 minutes to dissolve, or sometimes more than that, but it will not take more than 8 minutes to dissolve. But if you pour it and leave it to dissolve on its own, it will take more than 8 hours to more than that to properly dissolve. So please always make sure to use enough water, and also make sure to stir to dissolve before leaving it to settle. So that's it. Now moving on, the next ingredient we're going to dissolve here is STPP. And the full meaning of STPP is sodium tripolyphosphate. Sodium tripolyphosphate. And for the sodium tripolyphosphate, I'll be using 286 grams, but I actually needed 300 grams. So if you have up to 300 grams of sodium tripolyphosphate, please use exactly 300 grams. I don't have up to 300 grams here, so I'll be making do with 286 grams. So now we're going to dissolve this with 2000 ml of water, which is equal to 2 liters of water. So all you have to do is to pour the water into a mixing bowl, and after that you pour the sodium tripolyphosphate and then stir to properly dissolve and set it aside. Now please take note, it's very important to soak all these chemicals separately because these are different chemicals with different formula. So please do not soak them together. So you need to always soak them separately, and it's also important to soak all the soakable ingredients for like 5 to 7 hours before the production time. One of the major aspects of soaking and having your soakable ingredients ready before the production time is that when you leave this to settle for like 5 to 7 hours, it helps to improve the outcome of a product by enhancing the quality. So it's very, very important. So make sure to always have your soakable ingredients ready before your production time. So now after dissolving the STPP, the next soakable ingredient I have here is soda ash. And for the soda ash, I'll be using 300 grams of soda ash. So all you have to do is to also dissolve the soda ash in water, and after that you can set it aside. Now these are the soakable ingredients, so we need to prepare all these soakable ingredients and keep them ready before the major production time. To dissolve the soda ash, we'll be using 2000 ml of water, which is equal to 2 liters of water. So pour the water into a mixing bowl, and after that you pour the soda ash, and always remember to stir and dissolve it. Then you can set it aside to settle before using it for your production. Now moving on, these are the 4 ingredients that I prefer to soak and keep ready for like 5 to 7 hours before the production time: caustic soda, STPP, SLS, and soda ash. I like to soak these 4 ingredients and keep them ready for like 5 to 7 hours before the production time. So now I'll leave it for 5 to 7 hours, and then I'll come back for major production. Now this is after 7 hours. It's time to make our product. Now the first thing I need to do now is to dissolve sodium sulfate. The only time I'm dissolving the sodium sulfate is when I'm ready for production. So if you're not ready for your production, do not dissolve your sodium sulfate, but it's totally optional. You can also dissolve it the same time you're dissolving the rest of the ingredients, but I just prefer to do it this way. It helps the outcome of my product. So I only dissolve sodium sulfate when I know that I'm ready to start producing my soap. So that's it. So after dissolving the sodium sulfate, you can set it aside and then move on to the next step. Now for the next step, you'll be needing SLES, which is sodium lauryl sulfate, which is also known as sodium laureth sulfate, or you can call it Texapon. Now this is Texapon 70%, is like a pest, and it's actually not soluble in water, so we need to dissolve it with sulfonic acid. So here I have 1250 ml of sulfonic acid. 1250 ml of sulfonic acid. So for the sulfonic acid, I will have to pour at least 80% of the sulfonic acid into the Texapon to dissolve it. Now please take note, it's true that Texapon is not soluble in water, so to easily dissolve it, you can either use sulfonic acid or sodium sulfate. Now when using sulfonic acid, when you pour the sulfonic acid, please do not mix it until it's properly mixed before you add water. So you need to mix it a little bit. At this stage, just go on and add water. If you wait until it mixes well, like you're seeing in this video, it's going to take a longer time for you to dissolve it, and in most cases it might actually create lumps, especially if you have not done this before. So I'll suggest when you add the sulfonic acid and mix it a little bit, just pour water immediately and stir. That way you'll be able to avoid this getting to the thick trace, which is what you're seeing here now. And once it gets to this thick trace, it becomes very strong. So it will be very difficult for you to dissolve it unless you're using a hand mixer, or unless you've done this before, or probably you're making it in a small quantity, so it might be a bit easier for you to handle. But I do this always, so I'm already used to it, and I always mix until I get to a thick trace. For some reason I just like using this method. But please, to avoid your soap getting lumps, always avoid getting to a thick trace until you get used to it, unless you're making in a small quantity. Please, until you get used to it, do not use this method. So you can see it's very thick now. Like when I say thick, it's super thick. This is just like gum. I don't know if I've handled gum before. This is just the consistency, the strongness, everything is just like gum. So it's actually difficult to mix unless you're using a hand mixer or you're using a stick blender, or you know your way around it. Then you can easily dissolve it without so much stress. So that's it. So you're going to use 4 liters of water to dissolve the hexapon and sulfonic acid. Now so far we've used a total of 16 liters of water to prepare all the soakable ingredients. The first soakable ingredient, which is caustic soda, we use 1 liter of water, and the second one, which is SLS, we use 5 liters of water, which is making it 6 liters. And then the third ingredient, which is STPP, we use 2 liters, making it 8 liters. And then the fourth one, which is soda ash, we use 2 liters, making it 10 liters. And then the fifth one, which is sodium sulfate, we use 2 liters, making it 12 liters. And then we use 4 liters to dissolve hexapon and sulfonic acid, which is making it 16 liters of water. So now I'll be measuring out 14 liters of water. Now this 14 liters of water is what we are going to start off the production, giving us a total of 30 liters of water. A total of 30 liters of water. So now when you pour the water, the next thing is to measure 200 grams of your thickener. And for the thickener, you can use any thickener of your choice. You can use nitrosol, you can use Genocell, you can use HPMC, you can use any good thickener of your choice. So when you pour the thickener into the water, make sure to stir until everything is dissolved. Then you can move on to the next step. So when you pour the thickener, stir it for like 3 to 5 minutes, and after that you can go on and pour the first solution. Now at this point, our soakable solutions are ready for use. The caustic soda has cooled completely and it has also settled. So now we have a clear solution. So go on and pour the caustic soda solution. You can see how clear it's looking, and it has also cooled completely. So now we can use it to produce our soap. When you pour the caustic soda when it's still hot, it will make your product cloudy. So always leave it to cool completely. So that's it. Now when you pour the caustic soda, please do not stir for a long time. Pour the caustic soda, and after that you can then go on and pour the next ingredient, which is soda ash. So pour the soda ash solution, and after that go on and mix it properly, and then you can introduce the next solution or the next ingredient. Now this is why it's very important to soak these soakable ingredients separately. As you can see, you have to add it one after the other, but if you soak it together, you might not be able to achieve this result. So it's important to soak it separately and then add it one after the other. As you're seeing it, make sure to follow this process. So after mixing the soda ash, go on and add the next solution, which is STPP. Now please take note, when adding your soakable ingredients, it's important to gently pour it, as there can still be some particles settling at the down part of your bowl. So it's important to gently pour it so that if you have anything settling at the down part of the bowl, you can separate it from the solution. So that's it. So when you pour the STPP solution, go on and mix. And always remember to mix gently to avoid too much or excess bubbles. Now after mixing it well, you can go on and introduce the next solution or the next ingredient, which is sodium sulfate. So for the sodium sulfate solution, go on and add it. And when you add the sodium sulfate solution, you will notice a change. The consistency will loosen, and also the color will no longer be as clear as you're seeing it. It's going to turn watery and cloudy. But if you experience that, do not panic. Just keep mixing and also keep following the process until you achieve the final result. So now you can see when you start to mix it, you will notice the consistency changing, and also you notice the drastic change in the color. You can see that it's no longer clear, it's looking cloudy now, but just don't worry about it, we'll get it together. So after mixing it well, you can go on and introduce the next ingredient or the next solution, which is SLS. Now you can see that the SLS solution is looking very clear and everything is properly dissolved and is looking very clear. That's exactly how it should be. Always allow your solutions to settle before using it for production. Now when you add the SLS solution, mix it well, and after that you can introduce the next ingredient or the next solution. It's important to take note of this, or probably whenever you're ready to produce your soap, you can rewatch this video to follow this process. So you can either take notes of this, or you can come back to this video when you're ready for your production. So when you're done mixing the SLS solution into the soap, go on and stir in the sulfonic acid and hexapon solution. Now at this point, the consistency will change. It will start to thicken back. You start to notice the thickness or the viscosity. So that's it. That's why you don't need to panic. Once you introduce the sulfonic acid solution, you will notice the thickness will be restored. So all you have to do is to mix it for like 5 to 10 minutes. It's very important to mix it well at this point. After adding the sulfonic acid and hexapon solution, mix it for like 5 to 10 minutes. Then you can go on and add the next ingredient. Like after mixing it for like 5 minutes, you can introduce the remaining sulfonic acid. Remember earlier on I added just 90% of sulfonic acid to dissolve the hexapon. So the remaining part of the sulfonic acid is what I'm going to add now. But please, before adding the remaining part of your sulfonic acid, you can check the pH of your product. If the pH is okay, if it doesn't need extra sulfonic acid, you can just leave it without adding the remaining sulfonic acid. But if you still need to add the remaining sulfonic acid to adjust the pH, you can go on and add the remaining sulfonic acid. So when you add the remaining sulfonic acid, you can mix it properly. So at this point, I already checked the pH before adding the remaining sulfonic acid, and after mixing it for like 5 to 10 minutes, I'll then check the pH again before moving on to the next process. Now at this point, you can notice that this soap consistency is coming back, and also you can see the clarity is looking clear again. So this is exactly what you need to follow this process. So you can see that it's looking clear and we're getting it together, and that's exactly how it should be. So you can see the consistency is no longer watery. The consistency is just perfect, and by the time we introduce the remaining ingredients, it will become very thick, and you're going to see it. So just stay to the end of this video to see this. So that's it. This is the consistency, is actually thick at this point. So then you can go on and add the following ingredients. And now I'll just go on and check the pH. So this is the pH I have here. This is 8. So I'm going to leave it at that because it's multipurpose liquid soap. So I'm going to leave it at 8. You can actually do 7.5 or you can do 8 when it comes to multipurpose liquid soap. So after that, go on and add your foam booster. For the foam booster, I'll be using Cocomide. Now for the foam booster, you can use any good foam booster of your choice. I'll be using Cocomide. You can use Cocomide or you can use Coco B10, or you can even use local foam booster. Just use any good foam booster of your choice. So I'll be using 500 ml of cocomide, and the reason I like using this foam booster is that it's a surfactant. Is a non-anionic surfactant. It helps to boost the consistency of your product and also boost the foaming ability of your soap. So that's it. So I'll be using cocomide 500 ml. Now when you add the cocomide and mix it, you're going to notice the thickness. It will become very thick, and this is at the point you can maximize your profit. That is, if you're making this for commercial purpose, when you use this cocomide, you'll be able to maximize profit with it. Now earlier on I told you we are making 30 liters of liquid soap, but after adding this cocomide, it became very thick, so I need to add extra water. So I've added 5 liters of water. Now I'm going to mix it and also show you the consistency. So that's just the advantage of using cocomide. It will help to thicken your soap very well and also make your soap to foam really well as well. So that's it, you can use it. So this is after adding 5 liters of water. Now it's no longer 30 liters, it's now 35 liters of liquid soap. And take a look at the consistency, like it is still thick. Like this soap is still very thick. Like I even added extra 5 liters of water. Like it's still looking very thick. So I just like using this cocomide. You can go for it. So that's it. Now take a look at the consistency after adding 5 liters of water. Please take note, if you're not using cocomide or cocoa-10, please do not add extra water to this. If you're using local foam booster, please just stop at 30 liters of water. Do not use up to 35 or 40 liters of water. Now I was able to add extra 10 liters of water to this because I use cocomide, and cocomide actually boosts the consistency of the soap. Like it became really thick, so there was need to add extra water. Another thing there is that I'll be supplying this soap to a company, and what they basically use this for is to mop their floor and probably do some washing around the office. So they don't really need it to be really thick. They just want a good foamy soap. So that's it. The soap is going to be foamy, and I think the consistency is also perfect. So please take note. So please do not add extra 10 liters if you don't need to. So that's it. Now the next thing to add here is glycerin. So for the glycerin, I'll be using 200 ml. So pour in the glycerin, and after that go on and mix well. Now it's important to add glycerin because it's a humectant agent that will help to protect your hand from the chemical reaction of this product. So it's important to add glycerin, it's really important. Now take a look at the consistency. It's still thick even after adding extra 8 liters. It's still thick. So now I'll go on and add preservative, and for the preservative I'll be using methylparaben, and I'll be using 40 grams of methylparaben. You can also use sodium benzoate. So we add the preservative into the water, stir to dissolve, and after that pour it into the product and stir properly. Please always make sure you dissolve the preservative well. If not, it's going to create lumps in your product. Make sure to always dissolve it well, especially if you're using methylparaben. Make sure to dissolve it well before you pour it into the soap. So that's it. So when you pour it, mix well, and after that you can go on and introduce the next ingredient. So now I'm going to add the remaining 1 liter to make it 40 liters of water altogether. Remember I added 40 grams of preservative, so I'm gonna add extra 1 liter to give us 40 liters of soap. So that's it. So when you add the water, that is, if need be to add extra water, add the extra water, mix well, add your preservative and your glycerin, then you can move on and add the next ingredient. So the next ingredient is going to be fragrance, but before that, take a look at the consistency. Even after adding extra 10 liters to this, you can see that it's still looking thick, and that's exactly why you need cocomide. It will help the consistency of your soap honestly. So that's it. Now it's time to add fragrance. Now please take note. If you're not sure of your fragrance, please do not add it direct into the product. If you add it directly, it's going to loosen the consistency of your soap. So to avoid that, first of all, pour the fragrance into a cup and then pour a little bit of the soap into the cup. Stir to mix before you pour it into the major product. Especially when you're using any fruity fragrance like lemon or any type of fruity fragrance, please do not pour it direct into the product. Always mix it with a little bit of the soap before you pour it into the major product. It's always important. So I'll be using two different fragrance. It's totally optional. You can use any fragrance of your choice. Just pour 150 ml of fragrance. That is if you're making up to 40 liters of this multi-purpose liquid soap. But if you're making like 30 liters, you can use like 100 ml or 120 ml. So like I said earlier, do not pour your fragrance direct into the product. Make sure to take a little bit of the soap and then mix it with the fragrance before you pour it into the major products. It's always important, especially if you're not sure of the fragrance. So it's always important to mix it this way first before adding it into the product. So go on and pour it into the product after mixing well, and then you can rinse the cup with either water or you can also use the soap and rinse it, and then you can go on and mix your soap. Now if you've been following me for now, I know you already noticed the change in my voice. Please, I'm very sorry. I've been very down for some time now. I'm really trying to do this voiceover. It's really not easy, but I'm just trying to do the voiceover. But please don't pay attention to the voice, just pay attention to the video and follow all the process. Thank you. So that's it. After adding the fragrance, this is the consistency. It's still thick and it's durable, especially to the people I'm supplying it to. So like I said earlier, if you don't have a particular place you're supplying this soap to, do not add too much water so that your customers will not complain about the consistency. Just don't add too much water because majority of them can even use it to do laundry, which is to wash their clothes and to do other major cleaning in the house. This particular company, they'll be using it to mop the floor, so it doesn't really matter if the soap is not really that thick. Okay, so please make sure you maintain a good consistency and also make sure you use a good foam booster so as to obtain a foamy soap. Is very important, especially to those of your customers that will be using this to do laundry. The soap needs to be foamy, so please make sure you leave it at either 30 liters or maybe 35 liters, and that is if you're using cocoamide foam booster, foam booster, I mean. So that's it. So now what I'm doing now is to divide the soap, and after that I'm going to add color. Now for color, you can use any beautiful color of your choice. You can make do with any color, but please just don't add too much of the color. So just add any color of your choice, and after adding the color you can just move on to the next stage. So as you can see, I divided the soap into two and I'll be using two different colors. Number one is yellow. This is the yellow color. It turned out really beautiful and I love it. So you can see it's really looking good. Now the next one, I'll be using green, but the green color I have here is too dark. Like it is really dark. So to lighten the green color, I always make sure to add yellow color before adding the green. Like if you use only this green color that I have here, your soup will just turn very dark. Like the green is too dark. I really don't know how to explain it, but it's just too dark for my liking. Just take a look at it. It's too dark. So when you pour it into the soap and mix, it's going to be looking too dark. So to lighten the green color, I have to always drop yellow color. So after mixing, you're going to get this color. It's looking more like lemon color now, but just wait until this soap settles. You're going to see how dark it turned out, and imagine if I don't add yellow, how it's going to look. So that's it. This is after mixing the green color. Like I said, it's looking like lemon color, but just wait until the soap settle, then you can see the actual color of this soap. Like I really don't like that color, but I just don't want to waste it. I have to be using this method to use the green until I finish it. So for now, I'll just be using this method. So this is after adding the color. The next thing to do is to cover it, leave the soap to cure, and this will take about 24 hours. So leave it for 24 hours to settle before you can package your soap or before you can start using your soap. Now boom, this is after 24 hours. Now you can see the green color, you can see it's looking dark. Imagine if I did not add yellow color to this. Just imagine how the green is looking. Like, it's too dark. It's too dark. But anyways, it's so turned out really beautiful. You can see the glossy effect, you can see the consistency, you can see it's looking very beautiful and perfect. Like, it's so good, it's so good. Like, I actually thought it was really watery, but at this point I'm just saying that the consistency is perfect. It's really perfect. Now take a look at the yellow color. You can see how beautiful it turned out. Like, really beautiful and very clear as well. Camera is really not doing justice to this soap. Like, it's looking very fine, clear and beautiful. Okay, so that's it. So this is the outcome of the soap. The next thing to do is to package it. So if you're selling it, you can package it with your packaging bottles. Now for multipurpose liquid soap, I don't package it with small bottles like 500 ml or 250 ml. I only package it with from 1 liter to 50 liters. Like I said, this soap, I made it for a company, so I have their gallon with me, which I'll later put my label on the gallon. So that's it. Now this is my 1 liter gallon, which I normally use to package my 1 liter multipurpose liquid soap. So I don't use this particular transparent bottle, which is 500 ml, but I'll just pour the soap inside the bottle so that you see the outcome of the soap. So in case you want to sell it, you can use this type of bottle to package your multipurpose liquid soap. Now the packaging of this multipurpose liquid soap is quite different from dishwashing. Like in my location, this multipurpose liquid soap, it sells more when you package it with 1 liter bottle or gallon, or when you use like 2 liters, 4 liters, 5 liters to package it. It sells more than when you package it with 250 ml or 500 ml bottle. So I use this 1 liter or 2 liters or even 5 liters to package my multipurpose liquid soap. And most times I also use 25 liters to 50 liters, especially when it's on order. So when someone order for 25 liters, I just make it and then I pour it into 25 liters or 50 liters gallon. So that's it. Now this is the after result. You can see that the soap came out very beautiful. Yeah, now you can hardly tell the difference between this multipurpose liquid soap and dish washing liquid soap, although not everybody knows that there's difference between multipurpose liquid soap and dishwashing liquid soap, and that's why you need to join my online training. In my online training, you'll be able to learn the difference between dishwashing liquid soap and multipurpose liquid soap. Those are two different products, so always take notes. So you can see the two colors came out very beautiful, although I don't really like the green color. Like, it's too dark that I have to even add yellow. Like, even after adding the yellow, it's looking, I don't know, I just don't like the green. So make sure you get original green color, or any color you're using, make sure you use original color. That way you can be able to achieve a better result. So that's it. Now here I'm just packaging it with the gallon that they gave me. Now when charging, I can charge with gallon, which I'll definitely buy gallon. But when they give me gallon, I use their own gallon to package it, and then I only charge for the soap. So friend, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're just joining me for the first time, my name is Gifty, and I'm super excited to welcome you to the gifting family. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel, and also turn on your notification bell so that you'll be the first to watch my next video. And at the end of this video, do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave your comments down below, and don't also forget to share this video to your friends. Now to my wonderful, beautiful and amazing gifting, thank you so much for always being here, and I love you guys. So friend, I'll see you in my next video, but before then, stay blessed and keep loving one another. Bye.